Hey everybody, this is Mark Wilhelm with Tetra Prime Consulting, and today I want to make a video about email marketing, and specifically a very specific component of email marketing related to headlines. So, if you have a monthly newsletter that you send out to your email list, or you may have even seen emails like this come in to your email list, monthly newsletters, a lot of times the subject might just say something about check out our December newsletter or something like that. And when you're writing that headline, it seems like a reasonable thing to put. Okay, you have a newsletter, you're collecting a whole bunch of information. Here's our newsletter. But if you receive that email with that headline, it might not be really exciting, right? You might just kind of think, oh, okay, it's their newsletter. I don't have time to read that right now. I'll come back to it later. And then you might forget to come back to it and might never read the newsletter. So, a lot of people who've been studying email marketing for a long time say that there are a number of ways you can craft more compelling headlines, and one of them being focusing on a benefit. Why should the reader open this email? What are they going to get if they open it? Um, and in my mind, I connect that also with just kind of what's the most interesting topic, right? Even if it's not something that will maybe directly benefit the person, if you maybe don't have something really strong to that case in the email, you can at least try to focus on something that is hopefully most attention grabbing. So I wanted to put this idea to practice and test it for one of our clients. And so I've done that over a period of several months and grabbed some information. So I'm going to show you what I learned. So I'm going to share share a slideshow here. Um, this is for one of our clients, and we are currently using the email marketing platform ActiveCampaign. And ActiveCampaign allows you to do a split test. So for the past several months, I've been sending monthly newsletters for this client. The content of the newsletters has been identical for both versions, but I've just changed the headline and the pre-header information that some platforms will allow you to put. So when in your email, this shows if there is no pre-header information to the right of the headline, it will show basically the first lines of the email. But if you do have that pre-header text, it will populate that there. So if you look at these two rows kind of in the middle of the screen, the second row is the type of email I was talking about before, where maybe you're just saying, hey, check out our monthly newsletter. So what I did is basically every month I had this. Sometimes I did the insert their name to try to make it more personalized. Here's our newsletter. And then in the pre-header text, I included kind of a smattering of the different information, different topics that are in that month's newsletter. And in the alternate version, I tried to make the headline and the pre-header text very specific to what I thought was kind of the main point, the primary message I wanted to get across in the email, or what I thought was most interesting to our audience, what I thought our audience might be most interested in, and hopefully if something that could benefit them, right, when it's best. So what you have here is the first test I ran, which was for July. And for this test, you'll see that the open percentages, click percentage, and click to open percentage was actually higher on that email with what I'm going to call the broader headline. So I'm going to refer to these as like a specific headline or a broad headline. For that specific one, you can also say that it should be benefit focused. And so I wanted to dig deeper into this. One thing about how ActiveCampaign has their software set up is that you can't, by default, it doesn't give you statistical percentages of these differences. Um, Statistical significance means that if something has statistical significance, then we know that there was not sampling error in our data, and which basically means that if we were to run this test again, we would expect the same results. So the higher your confidence interval, the more confident we could be that these results are significant. So I went ahead and crunched some numbers here. So for this first email I sent, the more broad headline performed 3% better, which is very small, and 63% confidence, which is not especially high confidence. Ideally, you want that above 95% confidence that that's a statistically significant result. You don't always get that, so sometimes you kind of have to go with what you can take. Next was clicks, which if you don't know, clicks are the percentage of people that click any link in your email. And so again, in this version, the more broad headline had 17% better clicks with 85% certainty. So that's getting a little bit more certain. So that's an interesting result. And then last, I looked at click to open rates. Basically, what that means is clicks is the percentage of people who clicked of everyone who received the email. Clicks to open is percentage of people who opened the email and who also clicked, or the percentage of people who clicked out of the percentage of people who opened the email. So that's always going to be higher than your click rate. And it's just another way of conceptualizing it. So for this email, you'll see that once again, the more broad headline converted 14% better with 85% confidence. So that was a surprising result to me just because that runs contrary to what I thought would happen and what I've been told should happen. But it's also possible that maybe I just didn't execute the test very well in terms of choosing a good headline. So I just wanted to go ahead and run this some more times and see if I got different results. So that's exactly what I did. So in this next screenshot, you'll see what I ran for our August newsletter. The more specific version was specifically talking about updates to crisis care services for this organization, which is a community mental health center. And again, the second version is just alluding to, hey, here's our newsletter, with the pre-header text mentioning some of the things that are mentioned in the email. For this one, interestingly, you'll see that its results were basically equal, except for the first more specific version had slightly more unsubscribes. But I wasn't inclined to dig into that one too much deeper. So I just found it interesting that the opens, the clicks, and the click to open rate was identical. So again, the jury was still kind of out on whether one of these headlines was performing better than the other. So I kept testing. The next month, in September, I did the exact same thing. And you'll see that this month, the more specific headline and the more broad headline had the same open rates, but the click rates for the more specific headline were a little bit higher. Digging into that, you'll see that the more specific headline had 16% more clicks than the more broad headline, with 82% confidence that that is a statistically significant result. And then for clicks to open or clicks from opens, it can be called both. The more specific headline was 16% better with 86% certainty. So these results kind of contradicted the results from the very first test. And that was interesting to me. Again, this is what I would expect based on what other people have shown. So I went ahead and ran one more test for the next month because I wanted to see what I would learn from that time to see if I would confirm or disconfirm either trend. So again, here is October, and you'll see that for this month, the more specific version, which here was talking about virtual interpreter services, got more clicks than the more broad sounding headline. Comparing open rates, the more specific version was 16% better in terms of opens with 91% certainty. It also had 34% more clicks with 65% certainty. So again, that confidence ratio is a little lower there. And then 16% better clicks from opens with only 58% certainty. So again, a little bit iffy there, but still seems like there could be something to it. And so here we're back to the beginning. So basically, what do we take away from this? Some of these results seem a little bit contradictory, but the more I did it, the more trending I was seeing towards the result that we should expect based on what a lot of other people have said from their own tests, which leads me to believe that there may have been some error on my part in terms of maybe I just didn't do the best job crafting a particularly compelling headline, or maybe the things that I thought would be a good headline were actually things that our audience didn't actually care about that much. So, for example, this one, maybe this collaborative community care, people don't know what that means or they don't care and they just weren't compelled to click on it. Whereas maybe when we get more towards these virtual interpreter services, maybe that's something that people know what that is and they're actually interested in that and they want to learn more about that. So my takeaway here is that I believe from what is granted a little bit of mixed data, but I think that's telling us that focusing in on a very specific component of your email with your headline rather than going broad is more effective as long as you know that that's a good topic for your audience. So there's always going to be room for the art of content crafting. So that's my takeaway on email marketing headlines. As with anything, it's really important to test principles like this for your business and your audience. So if you're sending out a newsletter, I would highly encourage you to do some testing with headlines. There are a number of other strategies that smart marketers suggest for optimizing email headlines, but this is just one of them, trying to focus on a topic that you think your audience is going to be really interested in, and ideally a benefit that they will get out of engaging with your email over something more broad. So, once again, this is Mark Wilhelm from Tetra Prime Consulting, and thanks for watching.